Hey drummers, how's it going? It's Alex once again, bringing you some more fun-free drumming ideas. For this week's lesson, we are going to continue our Tasteful Licks series. I did have another fill plan, but then I was like, hang on, I've been neglecting all the beginner drummers out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cram in we're going to take like a particular concept, and we're going to look at a few different ways of playing it. It will get progressively more difficult, depending on how you look at it. But these also sound great if you're sticking back to back and playing with like these little 2-bar drum fills. So, with all that said, if you like what you saw in the intro and you want to give this one a crack, stick around and I'll break it down. Here we go. Alright, so the concept to begin with is going to be thinking, as we've got a pulse going, 1, 2, 3, 4, our fill's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. So essentially it's like 4 16th notes with an 8th note packed on the end, and then you play that pattern again. So it's going to be like 1 E and a 2 and a 3 E and 4 E and a. So by the time you get to beat 4, you're sort of landing on the downbeat again, and you just play those last 4 notes. The first one we're going to play it is going to be really simple. If you wanted to play it stupidly simple, you could do sort of like a... So we're not going to go much more difficult than that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's so many different ways you can count it. If you were counting it correctly, it would be like 1 E and a 2 and a 3 and 4 and a. And being right-handed, I'm starting every single group with my right hand. When I've been teaching, I've just been thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Because sometimes you don't have to worry about counting 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a. If you can just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, but then you can do it to a pulse. So it might be worth just like getting your sticks together and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can get that rhythm going to a nice little pulse, then hopefully this should all come together. So the first thing I'll practice, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what we're going to do is just going to include the bass drum in this, and like if we can, we're going to go for a choked hi-hat. So we get this. Now this will sound really nice when we start spinning it up. So let's take that first fill where we're playing da 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 bzz, da 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 bzz, da 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 da, and then we'll drop it into a groove. So that should sound a bit like this. And again. Right, so one of the grooves we're going to be looking at today, we're going to be using quarter notes on the hi-hat. So you could just play like a nice... We're going to spice it up a tiny bit more than that. We're going to play, for the first measure, we're going to play 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. So we're going to get like an offset bass drum followed by an offset snare drum. So that'll sound like this. If we're counting it, it'll be 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. Okay, so basically as my right hand is coming up in the hi-hat, I'm doing a kick on the and a beat 3, and then on the and a beat 4 I do the same thing but hit a snare. It's just a little bit more fun than going. You just offset those last 2 notes. And then that's 1 bar. We're then going to play another measure where we're going to play this. So we've got kick, kick, snare, kick, snare, kick, snare. Alright, so basically 2 kicks off the first hi-hat, snare kick off the second hi-hat, snare kick off the third, and then on the fourth you just land that snare drum. Back to back. Alright, so that's the groove we're going to go with. We'll come back to that in a second. Drum fill wise, we've already done this. We're going to look at a slightly more complicated version of playing that, where we're going to include the foot and a flam. So we're going to play right, we're going to play snare drum, high tom, floor tom, kick. So that'll be our 1, 2, 3, 4. And for our 5th note, we're going to bring both hands back together on the snare. So that would be 1E and a 2. We then repeat again, and a 3E and then for beat 4, we'll just play 4 on the snare. 4E and a, just to keep it simple. So it should sound like this. Bit faster. I use this fill all the time. It sounds really nice when you speed it up a bit. Very Dave Grohl-y. Right, now the cool thing is this sounds like an absolute beauty when you attach it to the end of what we just played in the last fill. So you can go straight into I'll play them back to back without stopping. Every time, it's just instinct. Alright, so what you get is now we play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we get that little 9-note phrase as we cross from measure 1 into measure 2. And so it kind of disguises the fact that we're playing the same sort of like rhythmical pattern twice. Let's chuck it in with that groove little sequence we do. So we've got 2 bars of groove, boom, snare, tick, boom, tick, snare, boom, boom, snare, boom, snare, boom, snare. All this will be in the sheet music because I haven't really gone in depth on that particular groove. But just play whatever 2-bar pattern you want. And then see if you can stick these 2 drum fills back to back. It should sound a bit like this. Let's play more than once. We'll let that ring. Okay, so that's like a nice 2-bar fill, followed by 2 lovely sounding little drum fills, but played back to back. Obviously, if you wanted to, you can just play each of those individually, and you can use any groove. So if we went back to like... Alright, so that sounds pretty sick. What we're going to do now is we're going to take it to a different place and look at using 16th note triplets and 8th notes. So instead of playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're going to play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, so we're going to cram in 2 extra notes, but it's going to land, that 7 we're going to play, it's going to be landing where the 5s would land in the previous fills. So we're going to have to sort of cram in a couple more notes, so we're playing a little bit faster. We're going to be counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, bang! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, bang! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, done! And we'll keep it simple. We'll sort of do a hybrid of the 2 we've done in the past. So we're going to play snare drum, high tom, and then 4 on the floor, and then we're going to hit the bass drum and a crash. That'll give us... That one does what I said it to. This will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so 1 triplet and triplet 2, and triplet 3, triplet 4, and triplet... No, 4 triplet and triplet crash. Slightly more complicated to count, but just do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, bang. That's a mouthful as well. It's easy to sing it, alright? So we've got snare, high, floor, 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 crash, repeat, snare, high, floor, 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 crash, and then go again, snare, high, floor, 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 crash, but this time that crash is going to be beat 1 of your drum beat. Alright, obviously you're going to be playing a little bit faster, and you want to make sure you get the right spacing between each of those right, left, crash, right, left, crash. You've got to reset on like, you know, within an 8th note, so it's the same distance that you play like between your hi-hats if you're playing like a boom, da, boom, da, shaka dooga da bish, shaka dooga da bish, shaka dooga da bish, ba, boom, boom, ba. I'll stop air drumming it, I'll actually play it this time, so here we go. So if you want to hear what that sounds like in comparison, like I'll keep the groove the same speed, but I'll play I'll play like one of those fills that we just did in the sort of first half of the video, and you can sort of see that if you're playing a slightly slower groove, you've got this as an option, and you've got a bit more space to cram in a few extra notes. So let's go, well, so to speak. Another thing you can do, instead of hitting the crash on like note number 7, you could go first time, and then bring your right hand back to the snare. That can sound nice. Just make sure you bring your left hand out of the way so you can whip that right hand back to a snare, and that sounds sick. Okay, that'll work in a similar context. I would probably, would it? Yeah, you can put them back to back. I wouldn't necessarily, because obviously if you go in that sort of tempo, I don't know, it just seems a little bit too over the top. But obviously, practice doing it anyway, because you might find yourself in a situation where that will work. Okay, so there's a few little ideas. It all sort of revolves around the same concept. It's sort of landing that bass drum and crash, or just sort of like doing like a little pause on beat 2, and then coming back in on the end of beat 2, and then playing up to beat 4. So it doesn't sort of sit on the beat the entire way, which makes it just a bit more interesting than playing, and it starts to bring in a few elements like flams, kicks, choked hi-hats and stuff like that. It's a really good place to go if you are a beginner, and it's not too taxing. If you go through each of these things quite slowly, you're going to sort of smash through them pretty quickly. So with all that said, I'm just going to change the angle, and then we'll have a look at playing it at a couple of different speeds, just so you can sort of see what's going on from my point of view. Alright, here we go. Alright, let's play the first fill with a basic groove. Here we go. Same thing with the second fill. Let's now play them back to back, and we'll use that nice little 2-bar groove that we started off with. Nice and slow, then we'll speed it up. Alright, same thing, but much faster. Here we go. Right, let's do sextuplets. I'm about to move the camera back because I'm worried I'm going to smash it. Here we go. Nice and slow. And then same thing but much faster.